Hey everyone, and thanks for joining. I had a friend reach out to me and they had asked me, do you have a more advanced video that explains how to reference data on other tabs? So a shout out to you, Patrick Craniary. This one's for you. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I'm going to create, oh, and by the way, I actually am using the Excel in a nutshell exercise file. And that is another YouTube video that I did, and it has a link in that video that you can download this exercise file if you want to follow along. So I'm going to click on this little plus sign to add a new worksheet. I'll go ahead and name it, and this is going to be, let's say, tax and goals. Now, what I want to do in this worksheet is I want to grab information here for the region, the month, let's just say, and also the amount here. Okay. And if I copy it, Control C, Control V, of course I could do that. But what if I go over to this database sheet and I change some information? So let's say that, oops, I got this wrong. This month is June. Or maybe I want some other months. Maybe, it's further up the line. I want to change the amount. The amount needs to be changed according to the month. What happens to my tax and goals worksheet where I've copied this information? Of course, it's not going to change, right? So whatever happens to this worksheet, I want it to change on my tax and goal worksheet. So let me show you how you can do that. So I'm going to go over to tax and goals. And I'm going to click an A1. And if you want to start a formula or a function, you always start with the equal sign. So we're going to do equals what? Well, this cell is going to equal, I'm going to jump over to database, this cell, region, right? We want that to say region at the top. Now notice in the formula bar, it now says equal database exclamation point. Database meaning the name of the worksheet, right? So if it was the worksheet that we're doing Excel in a nutshell, you would see that it says Excel in a nutshell exclamation point. Since this is database, of course, and then it refers to B1, which is the cell. All right. So that's all I want. I just want it to equal to whatever it says in this cell. So I'm going to finish my, you finish functions and formulas by simply pressing the enter key. So press enter to finish. Boom. Yay. And it says region. Now I can also take this and I can pull it down by the autofill handle, which is this little guy right here. You'll see a little plus sign when you're on the right spot. And now I'm just dragging it down. I'll stop at 10 here, let's just say. And voila, look, it also not only did equals database B1, but equals database B2. So let's look at database, and B2 is central and central. We'll check this one too. So does row 10 say west? 10 west. Yes. Okay, so that worked great. Now there is another way that you could do this, and that is you start a formula or a function with the equal sign. So I'm going to go here to B2 on my tax and goals. I'm going to type the equal sign. I'm going to jump on over and click on database worksheet to switch over to it. And I want the month next. Now I could just simply click on month, and then of course I can use the autofill handle like we did on region to pull it all the way down, or you can also just select all of those months from here and look at our formula. Equals database exclamation point C1, and then you have this little colon which means through C10. So when I finish a formula, I press enter, right? So we're going to press enter. And now we have our months. But notice this is a little bit different. And these are working great. We've got February all the way through January here in row 10. They're working great. But look at the formula. Now, this formula actually has database C1, right, through C10. If I go down here to B2, Look what it's grayed out. If I wanted to change the formula, I can. It starts to erase what I had here. So I'm going to hit escape and it brings back. So it's grayed out. And so is March, right? That's grayed out. The only one available is actually this one because that's where the formula resides originally. Does that make sense? So if I were to try to move this information somewhere else, let's just say I'm going to select it, do Control X, and I want the information moved down here, and I'll do Control V to paste. I can still do so, but look, those formulas are still grayed out. So there may be some times that you want to use this same type of function, but you really can't do much. So look at the difference between this one. I can actually change this formula if I want, but I cannot do it here, right? I can't change that formula. This is individual formulas. When I simply went over and clicked on region, selected that one, and then used the autofill handle, right, to pull this down, these formulas down, and they came out as individual formulas. I kind of prefer this way in most cases, simply if I change my mind and decide that I need to change something with these formulas. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on here. Now, in C, I'm going to go ahead and click on the equal sign in C1. Jump on over to B2. Remember, equal sign is starting a formula function. And I want this to be amount, so I'm going to click on amount. I'll press enter to end the formula. Look at the formula. Database equal exclamation point E1, which is that cell. Press enter to finish, and you have this. And I'm just going to pull it on down. Now, because I use this method, guess what? These are individual formulas now. Okay? Now, I'll go ahead and make these all money, money, money. And we'll go ahead and click here, right on the dollar sign under the number group to make it those cells. I could do the whole thing. I could click on seeing just in case there's more information that's coming. And I could say this is all currency, okay? And then I don't like these zeros here because it makes no sense to have no sense. It's just making up our room. And I know that we won't have any pennies that are in here, right, later on down the line. So I'm going to go ahead and just click here to decrease the decimal once, twice. That's looking pretty good. Now, the next thing that I want to do is I want to have taxes, okay? Now, over here on this database, this worksheet named database, I'm going to go over here and just on H, let's just say H8 is where I am. I can look at this address bar up here. And I'm going to say tax, and the tax is going to be 8.225. Okay. So what I wanted to do on my tax and goals here is I want to say this equals this, which is the amount, right, for the central region for February here. So it equals this times, so I'll just do a little star, usually found on your 8 key on your keyboard here. So you just, of course, have to hold down the shift key star. And then it equals that times what? Well, I wanted to equal something that's over here on the database worksheet. So I wanted to reference this number right here. And then when I press the enter key, it finishes my formula. But what in the world is going on here? What did I do wrong? Well, let's go ahead and just delete that. Well, if I go over here to database, it says 8.25, right? I actually want it to be 8.25 what? Percent. Right? Now look at it. No wonder it was confused and it gave us a wrong number. So I'm going to go up to the formula bar, and I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to add a point after it has percentage after it and press enter. Now it says 8%. What the heck, right? Well, easy to fix. Let's go ahead and add a couple decimals. Woohoo. There we go. Now look, if I just go with one decimal, it's 8.3. But if I have 2, it changes to 8.25. Now, let's try that again. So we'll go over here to our tax list of goals and say equals, right? We start everything with equals this amount times what? I'm going to jump over to our database, 8.25, press enter to finish our formula. So I didn't type 8.25, I just selected the cell that has our amount in there of tax that we need. And then I'm just going to press enter to finish my formula. Woo, that looks so much better. So does that actually equal that? Well, let's just see. So equals this times 8.25%. Press enter. Yep, that's the right formula. So let's go ahead and see what happens if we use the autofill handle again to pull it down. Oh my goodness, what's going on with that? It's not working, right? So this is where people run into issues with this. So this one's okay, right? Well, what's going on here? So this says C2, right? C2 database times database H9. What does this one say? Oh, it actually has H10. So if we jump over to database and cell H10, what's there? Nothing. So how do we fix that? Well, look at this. You may have heard before of absolute values on this. I don't want it to say H10, H11, H12. It worked perfect for other things, right? Like the amount, but it's not working so perfect for us when we're trying to point to a particular cell in another worksheet. So what I want to do is make it an absolute. I absolutely just want it to be H9 and nothing else. So this is where I want it to point every time. Okay? But not C2. I want that part to change. C2 times, right? So C2 is this number. I don't want that to be constant. I mean, I do want it to change because I want this to, how can I say this? I want this is actually E3. So here I want this number to be changing. I want it to be, the E3, E4, etc. all the way down. So how do we change that? Well, this is what we do. We're going to use that absolute reference. So on this very first instance here, I'm going to select this information where it's pointing to, okay? And I'm going to use the function key with, let me think, what was it? I think it's F4. Function F4. I hit the right one. Whoop, I just hit F5. Function. Oh, it's not selected. Let me try that again. Function F4. Oh, there it is. I'm thinking, is that not the right number? It is. It just became unselected. Anyway, I selected that number, did function, right? And the F4 key. And then you have these little dollar signs that appear. Now we could also just type those dollar signs. I just hit the escape key. And I can actually go in and type those dollar signs before each one of these cell references here. So I could do that if I want to and just type them. Or again, that little function F4 will also do the same thing. So I'm going to hit escape so you guys can see that it works the same way. So I'm just going to select it. I'll do my function F4. To me, that's a little bit, I hit F5 again. Sorry, guys. Function F4. I did it again. Sorry. Here we go. So function F4. Yay! Finally did it right. If at first you don't succeed, try again. So we have our dollar signs around it. It's now an absolute value. I'll just press the enter key to end my formula there. And now let's try to use autofill and see what happens. Ha ha! There we go. Is that the right number? Let's see. So equals this times 8.25%. Enter. Yep. Yay. So that actually worked. All right, so that worked. Let's go ahead and delete that number. And I'm going to try another little thing here just to kind of show you some things. Let's say that we want the goal for these different regions that they've reached the amount of $15,000 or more. So let's say our goal is 15,000. And I want to just double click to make this a little bit wider here. So let's do an if formula here. So I'm going to do if this number right here is equal to, whoops, I forgot my if. All right, equals if. I'm going to double click on if so I can get some help here with this. It says logical test 1, comma, value if true, comma, and value if false. So that's the syntax that we want to use there. So first off, if what? Well, if this number right here in the cell is greater than or equal to 15,000. Now, I don't want to put a dollar sign or I don't want to put 15,000 with a comma right here because I want to show you what happens. So right now it's looking at the first logical test. When I click on this, the word logical test here, it highlights it, right? And it's saying C2 is greater than or equal to 15,000. But if I put the comma in there, this, watch what happens. Now if I click on the first one, look, it is only saying 15. Is it greater than or equal to 15? Well, we don't want that, right? So I'm going to get rid of that first comma. Now it sees the whole thing. But I do want a comma after it because now, look, it's highlighting value if true. Well, value if true, I want to say, well, if it's greater than 15,000 or more, I want to say way to go, right? So let's just say that. So when you're having a conversation and you're writing it, let's just say you're doing some sort of a little English project, you always put it in quotation marks, right? And we want it to say, so quotation mark, way to go, exclamation point. And we're going to finish what we want to say by closing that quote and pressing what? Well, we want to press the comma again. So comma. Now, we want to say if it's false? Well, if they didn't meet their goal, what do we want to say? Well, I'm going to put it again in our quote, and I'm going to say, you're almost there. Keep trying. Not trying. Trying. It's not right. Keep trying. Exclamation point, close quote, and we always finish with enter. Yay, we're almost there. Keep trying. I'll go ahead and make this column bigger by double clicking in between E and F, and it'll make it fit. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pull this down, and hopefully I have the formula right. And voila, look, way to go. Way to go. Look at these numbers here. They did really well. But as far as like our references and everything go, look, this is actually, right, it's referencing somewhere else. So these amounts, it's important to remember that the amounts that you have on here, you don't want to go just come in here and change something because it's referencing something else, right? So look at this as an example. This is database E2. We're actually using a formula that's looking at C2, which is what? Oh, well, it's a reference, right, to the information that's over here on database in cell E2. So what you want to do is you want to change that information over here on this database and for your amount. So let's say I change this amount And now they've made $16,257. I press enter. So what happens over here now? Yay, way to go. How about this guy right here? You'd see that this says 13. If I change that here instead, and I'm like, let's go ahead and change this to 17. Man, they did really well. 254, and I press enter. It says way to go, but what happened? I wrote over that number. So it's no longer referencing the database. So keep those kind of things in mind when you're using references and working between worksheets. So thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that was helpful to you, Patrick, and to all of you that are joining us. Thank you so much. I hope to see you next time. Please like and subscribe. And if you have some other things that you'd like to see, we'll do some videos for you too. Have a great day. See you next time. Bye.